If the world were to reach its end, and you were the last person alive, with only a dog given to you by fate, and you had to find all your provisions by yourself, would you lie there waiting to die, or would you strive to live like a king amidst a world full of loneliness and cold? Today, we bring you a science fiction movie about the apocalypse, Old Man and the Dog. The story follows a man named Finn and his beloved dog during the end times. The film features an incredibly impressive element, the ability to create robots. In a not-so-distant future, humanity has destroyed the ozone layer, causing the climate to become extremely harsh. Combined with the outbreak of solar radiation, the average temperature on Earth has increased by tens of degrees Celsius. A human standing under the sun would be instantly burned to ashes. All plants have dried up and the land has turned into a desert. Humanity is gradually dying out and human civilization has completely collapsed. The protagonist, Finn, is the only survivor. Every day, he faces the challenge of how to continue living. On that day, as usual, he armed himself, took his robot dog Zoe, and then went searching for supplies. Over the years, he has survived thanks to canned food left by those who have died. Today, he was quite lucky to find a can of dog food and a bottle of wine. Finn smiled and marked this place as visited, but soon after, he couldn't smile anymore. Not far away, dark clouds began to gather, with thunder and lightning roaring fiercely. Based on his previous experiences, once this storm hits, everything in its path will be completely destroyed. Even staying indoors won't guarantee safety. The only way is to run as far as possible. Finn immediately returned to his shelter, which was the research headquarters of a tech company. It turned out that he used to be an engineer at this company. Since the disaster struck, he and his dog have been relying on each other to survive. He treated this dog as his family. Due to the increasingly harsh climate and frequent sandstorms in recent years, Finn had developed a severe pneumonia. He felt he wouldn't live much longer. Therefore, to ensure someone could take care of Zoe, he designed an AI robot and input all human knowledge into its system, especially the skills of raising and caring for dogs. So far, the robot was almost complete, only missing its limbs and the ability to speak and walk. This robot was also very interesting. Even before being completed, it was very curious about the world like a child just born. Moreover, its system stored all knowledge, so it knew everything. The first sentence the robot said was, "In an environment without water, a giraffe will live longer than a camel." Finn felt both excited and deeply moved. He was excited because he had created the world's first AI robot. Sadly, there was no one to share this joy with. Who would have thought that the world's first robot was made just to take care of a dog? As happy as he was, the storm was approaching. Where could they hide? Looking at the map, the east, north, and south were all ravaged by storms. Only the west was relatively safe. However, to get there, they needed to find enough food. Otherwise, it was impossible. Finn looked at a postcard on the wall and suddenly blood dripped from his nose to the ground. Before dying, he wanted to visit the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco Bay. So, the next destination was San Francisco. They had to leave their current shelter to escape the storm. Finn and his solar radiation-proof car that he had built began their journey to San Francisco. Along the way, he constantly used his knowledge and experience to teach the robot. After some time learning and imitating, the robot quickly improved, mastering most survival skills in the apocalypse. Firstly, never miss any chance to get food because the dog must always be well fed. Secondly, only search houses that are still locked because those with broken locks have already been looted. Thirdly, humans and dogs cannot directly contact sunlight, or they will be burned. Fourthly, be adaptable. For instance, if you find a bag of raw corn, it can't be eaten immediately, but just place it under the sun and it will turn into popcorn, ready to eat. The robot watched the popcorn popping with delight like a child, but then they suddenly noticed a tornado approaching. Running wasn't an option anymore. What to do? They had no choice but to brace for it. Finn immediately used a rope to secure the car. However, being severely ill, he didn't have much strength. Fortunately, the robot had mastered the fourth survival rule: adaptability. It quickly ran over to help. The tornado was approaching. They hid inside the car. Although the car was tossed around like a leaf by the wind, they had prepared beforehand and managed to survive. When the storm passed, the tire had been damaged by the ropes and couldn't be used anymore. Finn was very disheartened until suddenly the robot found a spare tire and effortlessly lifted the car with one hand. The problem was solved quickly and efficiently. Finn now realized that the robot had not only become an invaluable assistant, but also a companion to share his thoughts and feelings with. They talked through the night, and the robot even asked if the dog had a name. So Finn named it Z. The next morning, Finn was awakened by the noise made by Z. It turned out that Z, feeling that the four-legged friend didn't like him very much, tried to initiate a conversation and learn the dog's language. Finn, helpless, explained that earning the dog's trust would require a long time living and practicing together. But what is trust? Z didn't understand. Finn taught him that trust is a relationship that makes others rely on you. As soon as he finished speaking, he fell ill again and had to stop at a rest area to recuperate. Z, bored while sitting alone, started playing with the steering wheel and accidentally started the car, nearly damaging it since he didn't know how to drive. If the car was damaged, it would be the end for them. Thus, Finn was very angry, scolding Z for driving the car out so far. He warned that stepping out of the car and being exposed to sunlight would be fatal. He also told Z that his purpose was to take care of Zoe, not to cause trouble everywhere. Z, reprimanded, looked downcast like a child, but later Finn realized it was time to teach Z how to drive because his condition was worsening. This made Z very happy. The AI robot's learning ability was remarkable. Soon, Z became an excellent driver. That night, Z looked at the moon in the sky and asked Finn, "If the sun is so dangerous, why don't we drive at night?" Finn replied, "Because driving at night, we would be attacked by the survivors in the forest. It's very dangerous. Never underestimate human nature. Staying away from danger is the only way to survive." Z was still unclear about this. The next day, Finn's condition worsened, and Z learned another skill, becoming Finn's caregiver. It seemed that over the past days, they had truly become like father and son. As Finn's caregiver, Z had to find food on his own. Passing through a city, Z stopped the car, decided to apply his knowledge and experience, and took the robot dog Zoe to a building to search for supplies. But he forgot the second survival rule. Don't open doors without locks, and didn't notice the drawing on the wall. Clearly, this place was already occupied, but Z didn't know and went straight inside to search. He found a coat, a lot of medicine, and food. This might have been the most successful search ever. Z was thrilled. At this moment, Finn, having woken up, looked out the window and saw the drawing on the wall, his face turning pale. According to his experience, someone definitely lived there, and intruding on their territory was like walking into a death trap. He quickly got dressed in protective clothing and went to find Z. Meanwhile, Z found a can of food but couldn't reach it, so he jumped down and fell into an animal trap, scattering his components. Finn, upon entering and hearing the noise, hurried over. Seeing Zoe destroyed, he was heartbroken. He felt someone was watching him. Quickly, he sped up and found Z. They rushed back to the car and drove off. As expected, just as the car moved, another vehicle's lights turned on and chased them. Finn told Z not to stop, to accelerate, and run as far as they could. Those living in the forest were not to be trifled with. He took out a gun and then suddenly fainted. When he woke up, it was dark and they were still being chased. Finn turned off the car's lights, instructed Z to speed up straight ahead, and then directed him to make a sharp turn off the road and hide under a bridge's tunnel. However, the tunnel was too low, and the car got stuck, unable to move forward or backward. Seeing the other car approaching, Z immediately got out and pushed the car further into the tunnel. They narrowly escaped danger. Just as they thought the danger had passed, they heard a terrifying roar like that of a wild beast. Finally, when they were safe, Finn was still mourning Zoe's death. He started telling Z how dark this world had become. It turned out that when the solar radiation outbreak happened, humanity wasn't entirely wiped out. Those who survived began killing each other for survival, leading to the current situation. One day, while Finn was searching for food, he encountered a mother and her child. The mother instructed her daughter to always point the gun at anyone they met to prevent them from stealing their food. Shortly after, a man appeared. Before the mother and child could react, he killed them and took their food. Finn hid in a corner, too frightened to intervene. Once the area was quiet again, he came out to investigate. Finn discovered that in the little girl's backpack was a dog. That dog was Goodyear. Hunger had turned people into ruthless killers. From that moment, Finn became more timid, avoiding contact with others and creating Z to take care of Goodyear. Goodyear represented the good within him. Caring for Goodyear also gave Finn a sense of peace. 2 days later, they finally arrived in San Francisco. Finn's condition worsened. While Zepp was driving, a butterfly flew into the windshield. Curious, Zepp called Finn over to see. Finn was surprised to realize that the sunlight was no longer as harsh as before, and wildflowers had begun to appear. This suggested that the climate was gradually improving. Perhaps after the storm, the sky would clear. Finn was finally hopeful for a day when he could live like a normal person, although he had little time left. He put on his expensive white suit, opened an umbrella, and enjoyed his meal, savoring his final moments. Suddenly, Z mentioned that it had dreamed of the Golden Gate Bridge on a postcard, and that beautiful things often do not exist. Finn was surprised and said that one must experience things firsthand to truly appreciate their beauty, not just dream about them. He also wanted to visit the Golden Gate Bridge because behind the postcard lay a personal story. Years ago, Finn's father, an engineer responsible for building bridges across the country, had disappeared before Finn was born. When Finn was 15, his father had sent him a postcard inviting him to meet at the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. As an adult, Finn had bought this expensive white suit in anticipation of reuniting with his father, but he never managed to find him. Thus, the Golden Gate Bridge became a place Finn wanted to visit to make up for the past regrets. Unfortunately, he would not have the chance to go there. Finn asked Zeed if it wanted to take care of Goodyear and encouraged it to live together and trust each other. Eventually, Finn vomited blood and bid farewell to this hopeless world. Zeed was deeply saddened. It had evolved to experience feelings and emotions like a human. At the end of the film, Finn passed away peacefully. Z was unsure of what to do next. What could a robot do? It remembered Finn's unfulfilled wishes, to take good care of Goodyear and to visit the Golden Gate Bridge. After Finn's passing, Z fed and played with Goodyear, who gradually began to trust this new friend. Eventually, the robot and the dog reached the Golden Gate Bridge, a place rich with memories left by those who had visited before. As Z gazed at the distant view, it finally understood Finn's words. One must continuously experience life to truly appreciate its beauty. Though a robot, Z had learned about love, friendship, and the meaning of life. It also symbolized new hopes for the future. So that concludes today's film. Thank you for following along. Goodbye, and see you next time.